Yay! I have the camera facing the right way. I'm already starting off better than I have in the past. So thank you for joining us on Motivation Monday, the 1st of May. Well, today's not the 1st of May, but the first Motivation Monday of May. And we know a lot of you are WSET diploma students who have a exam coming up quite soon. So sending you all of our good luck vibes and best wishes for a successful exam. We're going to be talking today a little bit about the MW program because applications open up on May the 4th, Star Wars Day. So I applied last year and I just kind of wanted to share my experience with the application process and hopefully inform you all what that was like. And I'm not going to try to talk anybody into applying, but if you're on the fence, hopefully this information will push you one way or the other. And I'm always happy to talk in person or via Zoom or something if you have other questions. But so applications open up in May. That's the first half is the application process. And then you do have to take an entrance exam, which consists of a little bit of theory and tasting. And I will talk about that probably later this month, but not today. I do want to touch briefly though. I don't know how many of you saw my Imposter Syndrome post from last week, but I've talked to, that generated a lot of conversation in DMs for us. And I know a lot of people don't want to say, yes, I've got Imposter Syndrome. So it's not the easiest thing to admit. But I think most of us suffer from it in some degree or another. And I definitely had it when I was applying for the MW program last year. I've got it now too, but when I was applying, because there's several factors that they look at. And let's say there's 10 and I had 9 and I focused so much on the 10th that I was like, ugh. This is kind of, I'm not 100% sure that I've got this. Why do we do that? And I know a number of you that are applying, you've talked to me, there's maybe one factor that you're like, ugh, I don't really know if I have this, or this is a gray area. Don't focus on that one. My understanding is they look at the application as a whole. So if you're a little bit light on one, but you've got the other 9, let's say you're light on 2, look at it as a whole. And don't focus on the one thing that you don't have. Focus on the 9 or 8 or whatever that you do have. So kind of tell that imposter syndrome to F off. But all your information, all the official information should come from mastersofwine.org. They are very thorough, transparent about what they are looking for, what you need to do to apply. Again, this is just my own 2 cents. This is what worked for me. It's not a one-size-fits-all thing. What they need, so you do need to be in the wine trade. And that needs to either be your primary profession or at least 20 hours a week. So you need to have current employment. My understanding is that can be really broad though. You could teach, you can write, you can work at a tasting room, you can be helping in vineyards. It is really, really broad, but you do need to have current employment, and you also need to have a minimum of 3 years past employment. And they will ask you for your job history. And I'm not ignoring you. I'm looking at what I put last year. They needed your current primary employment in the wine and then 4 prior jobs. So I had to go all the way back to when I was a lawyer. Because I have not had that many jobs. I guess I've stuck with some of them. So be prepared to kind of write about your past several jobs in the application. You need to have a WSET diploma or something equivalent, and that could be a degree in enology, I believe, or viticulture. So WSET diploma is just kind of the standard, but there's definitely other ways to be admitted if you don't hold that. My understanding though is that it is quite helpful to have that because you've learned about the global wine industry and you know how to taste, but it's definitely not the end all be all. If you have another certification other than WSET diploma, you should be fine. So don't focus on that one. let's see. You need to provide a short biography of yourself. So just kind of a really condensed, and they're very strict on their wording, by the by. It's like 150 words, maybe 300 max. But really make every word count, which is actually good practice for the MW exam because you're timed and you need to be very succinct and clear. So don't think you're going to submit your 2-page resume. Condense it down. What's most important in applying? Like what's your background and maybe what's unique about you? I tried to focus on more my uniqueness, the fact that maybe I'm an older vintage that was applying, had a more diverse background, because I really did get wrapped up in the fact that I had not had decades of wine experience. I had enough to apply. I had done retail and teaching for several years, but I did not have decades in the wine industry. But you know what? That's not required. It's not required that you have only worked in the wine industry. I think they actually like to have a little bit of diversity. So if you are someone who transitioned later in life to wine, put that down because you'll bring different strengths to the program. At least I'm hoping that I will. So statement of motivation, why you want to join the MW program. And this is where you can kind of get personal. I did. Why do you want to join? What do you hope to do with it? Their mission, I love their mission, promoting excellence, interaction, and learning in the global wine community. So I actually wrote a little bit about my Outlines account because I was kind of trying to foster interaction and learning through my weekly quizzes. So I mentioned that. I mentioned that I love teaching. I actually applied before Amber and I formed Elevage, or I totally would have mentioned that because we love what we're doing. Obviously, we love interacting with you all. We love helping and supporting wine students. So hopefully that fits into the MW's overall mission statement. So think about where you might fall into that. If you are just collecting letters, maybe think about your motivation because this is not something you should really enter into on a whim. You should think, how am I going to do that? How am I going to, what am I going to do when I get out of the program? How do I hope to give back to the community, so to speak? So they want to make sure you think about how much time you have to dedicate to your studies, and are you able to source wines for your studies? And that might seem like, well, wait, what? So wines, I think, there's a lot of students who maybe live in the middle of nowhere. And how are you going to get wines? Do you, belong to a tasting group? Are there wine schools nearby that give wine tasting classes? Do you have a great wine store? Shout out to High Times, which is like 20 minutes away from me. I love them, and I go in there all the time for tastings, for help with sourcing blind wines. I'm in between 2 really great wine schools, Peter Neptune and Lindsay Pomeroy in San Diego. So think about that, mention those types of things as opportunities to hone in your tasting, because they want to make sure that you're going to be able to really get up to speed for the MW exam, and it's important that you have access to wines. Now, that doesn't mean do you have access to First Growth Bordeaux and Grand Cru Burgundy. It means all wines. It means Barefoot. It means White Zinfandel. It means La Marca Prosecco. So if you just have really great wine stores nearby or a grocery store, perfect. Don't get too caught up in that question. And then sufficient study time. I wish I could tell you all what kind of the average study time is for people. I know for me, I kind of hit the ground doing really well, hour or 2 a day. And then my dad passed away in January, and I stopped studying for a while because my brain just checked out. Sorry. But I'm getting it back. So I I just encourage you to think about how can you dedicate sufficient study time. Sorry, guys, Jesus. To preparation. And that could mean just setting aside your weekend. That could mean an hour a day. And again, I don't really know what other students are doing. I do know that we're all kind of anxious right now and feeling unprepared for our exam in July. But if you have a full-time job and you have a part-time job and you're caring for elderly parents and you've got kids and you're on the board of 5 organizations, take a deep breath and look at, okay, can I really take this on? Do I want to take this on right now? Because they open applications every year. So maybe this is the year that you just wait until maybe your life slows down. But they just kind of want to know, how have you thought about how you're going to carve out study time for this program? So about 150 words on all of those topics. And you also need to get a referral from either an MW or a senior member of the wine trade. And I know people who have done master somms or CEOs of a wine company that they've worked for. And it should be somebody, my understanding is that it should be somebody who knows you and can attest that, like, oh yes, this person has a good chance of succeeding in this program. You know, I've had them in class or I have worked with them. So see if it's somebody that kind of knows you, and it could be people who know you virtually too. I mean, my gosh, we have really gotten to know a lot of people online and through social media. So it could be that. It doesn't need to be somebody who is in the town that you're living in. This is global, so use your network. So that's the application process in a nutshell. You have until the end of the month. I am looking right now, 31st. You have until May 31st to submit all of this, and then the entrance exam opens. And like I mentioned, I will talk about that probably later this month, kind of how I prepared for it, because I think a lot of people, understandably, hear entrance exam and they freak out because they're like, ugh, what does that mean? It's not that bad, but yeah, it takes some work. I would not just willy-nilly go into it and think that you will pass. Maybe if you're incredibly intelligent, you will, but I prepared quite a bit. Shocking, I know. So I will share that. But this month, if you're thinking about applying, just get your ducks in a row. Spend the time to answer each of these questions, even the ones that you're like, well, what do you mean? How am I going to source the wines? Obviously, I'm going to do X, Y. Take the time to make it thorough, because again, they look at everything as a whole. And just because maybe you're not really meeting the high expectations on one doesn't mean that you won't get in, because you might be meeting expectations on all the other bars that they have set. So that's that. You have pretty much all of June to do the entrance exam, and then just enjoy the rest of your summer until they let you know. So that's it. If people are thinking about applying and have questions, I'm happy to answer whatever I can. Just again, based on my own experience so far, I highly suggest you just pore over the mastersofwine.org website. And Richard Hemming has some great videos on how to approach theory and how to approach tasting for the entrance exam. Look at those again. And yeah, good luck. It's really, I'm learning a ton. It's been a rocky first year for sure, for many reasons, not just the program, but I've met a lot of good people too. So that's good. So anyways, good luck if you are applying, and happy studying if you are taking a diploma exam or anything else in the near future. And cheers, you've got this. Take care.